Hi, everyone. Welcome to Pear Deck for Google Slides Accelerated. My name is Mindy Saboro. I am a customer success representative with Pear Deck. Recently out of the classroom, though, I did get to experience a little bit with remote learning last spring. Was a fifth grade math and science teacher. So I always like to start off by saying a huge thank you to all of you. I still have 3 of my own in school, and I'm amazed on a daily basis of what you all are doing to accommodate our students' needs. And that's on top of, I know, wearing many different hats. So thank you for all of your time that you put into teaching. It's very much appreciated. Hoping by the end of this webinar that you are able to feel a lot more comfortable using Pear Deck in your class and really see the power of it as far as a really useful tool in helping to engage all of your students in your lessons or within assessments, homework, quite a few things. So we're going to jump right into it and get started. We are going to take a look at what Pear Deck is, also going to take a look at starting a new account. And then I'm going to walk through making a Google Slides deck. So this is specific to Google Slides today. If you are a PowerPoint user, we do have a same webinar for PowerPoint, specifically for PowerPoint, but I do recommend that you go ahead and stay on. You will receive what we call takeaways at the end of this session to your email, and there will be a link to one of those recorded webinars that may be helpful if you are using PowerPoint instead of Google Slides. They're very similar, but I'll try to point out some of the differences as I go along. And then I'll stop after we make that Google Slides deck and take some questions. So I keep the chat closed. It just helps me stay focused on task, but I welcome you to leave questions in there and we'll look at those about halfway through. Once we take a few questions, then I'm going to launch this into an instructor paced session. And then we'll also switch it and look at it in a student paced session for a little bit as well. We'll take a look at the teacher dashboard. The teacher dashboard is a feature for our premium subscription, but that is where you're going to see student names linked to their responses. Without that teacher dashboard, then the responses will be shared with the class anonymously in what we refer to as the projector view. Then we will look at, once we go through those sessions, we're going to go ahead and look at how we publish those takeaways. So we can take our session and publish them into a Google Doc. We call those takeaways. So this is one difference between Google and PowerPoint users. Our PowerPoint users, unfortunately, I'm sorry, you don't have access to those takeaways. They are a shared Google Doc that when you publish those, they will go to the student's shared drive and they will go to your drive. And you'll be able to, you can extend the learning with those. You can start off in a Pear Deck session and then give that doc to your students for them to extend the learning within that doc. They're also great for having as maybe a study guide as well, but we'll talk about those in a little greater detail towards the end of our webinar. And then we'll stop at the end, try to leave some time for some additional questions. But after that halfway point, we're going to go into an actual session and I'll have you log into that session. I will have a slide in there to collect questions from you. So if you can hold off at that point from putting questions in the chat, it's really helpful to see them in the Pear Deck session so that all of you can see what the question is when I'm answering it. So as far as participating, you can take notes, you can just sit back and observe, whatever you are comfortable with. I do really recommend logging into the session when we get to that point so that you can experience it and see what it's like on the student end. So why Pear Deck? I know when I taught, lots of educational applications brought my way. For me, Pear Deck is different. One reason I love it is that it's not another game format. It truly is a tool for you to use in your instruction. And it's so powerful in helping to engage every student in your class. Where I know I was very guilty of asking a question, 1 or 2 students answer, and then possibly the same 1 or 2 students answer the next question. And I could see the body language in my students. They were checking out. They thought those 2 students, they had it handled. No reason for them to pay attention. Pear Deck is going to give them that opportunity to answer all those questions that you're asking and in a really comfortable manner by doing it all anonymously in front of the class. Only you, if you are a premium subscriber, have access to seeing their names linked to those responses. So it keeps that student engaged. And then when they start to see their responses and their responses are part of that conversation in class, it's going to keep them engaged. So very simply, Pear Deck for me is this tool that helps students learn how to learn without them really realizing it. And for the teacher, you're getting to see everything in real time. So you're watching not just those one or two students, but you're getting a glimpse of every student and how they're progressing through that lesson. Very easy to poll a small group at the end of that lesson based on what you have observed, and do a little bit of extending with that lesson for that group that wasn't quite on target yet. Also, if you already have created Google Slides lessons or PowerPoint lessons, then all you're going to do is open those files like you'll see me do here today, and simply open your Pear Deck sidebar. And with one click, you're going to start making a few of those slides in that lesson interactive. Really simple. So you don't have to reinvent the wheel if you've already been using Google Slides and PowerPoint in your classroom. There are 3 different views. So when we launch this into a session, so we first start with our Google Slides deck. That's what we're going to create to use in these sessions. And then when we launch a session, we have 3 different views. So we have the projector view, which in a classroom would be up at the front of your classroom for students to observe and see all the responses from everyone in the class. Students will only see their response in their student view, and that's where they're going to interact with those questions and those interactive slides. So you'll need to have that projector view displayed so that students are able to observe and see other students' responses. In a remote setting like we are today, I'm going to share that projector view. And something that is really helpful for your students is if they learn how to split their screen so that they have 2 windows open. One window is going to house the remote call, that video call like Zoom or Meet. And the other window is where they would log into their session, their Pear Deck session, and have their student view so that they're able to interact with their question and see what you're projecting at the same time. The last view is the teacher dashboard. So we show it here on a device like an iPad. You can open the teacher dashboard on a different device like an iPad or another laptop. We do that and suggest that so that you don't accidentally display the responses that are linked to the student names. You certainly can open up that teacher dashboard on your laptop. We just suggest possibly putting it in a different window than the same window as your projector tab. Today, I'm actually going to open it up in a tab so that I'm able to share and show that view with you. So how do I get started? So you have to have the Pear Deck add-on. We're going to start an account and we have to have that Pear Deck add-on in our Google Slides menu. And then the second one down here, what is a Pear Deck Power Extension? That's optional. And I'll talk a little bit about that in just a second. But first, we're going to get started with setting up that account. So displaying that to you was just simply hitting that present button in Google Slides. To get started so that we can launch this actually into a Pear Deck session so that students can join it and be interactive with it, I'm going to go to peardeck.com and get started with my account. So if you haven't set up an account yet, you can go ahead and go to Teacher Login. When you hit Teacher Login, if you haven't set it up yet, you're going to get an option for logging in with Google or logging in with PowerPoint. You're going to want to pick, or Microsoft, you're going to want to pick the platform that you use at your school. And then we suggest that you use your teacher's email address. So that email address that you use at school, that's also associated and linked to either your OneDrive or your Google Drive, because Pear Deck and those drives will communicate with each other. So it needs to be the same email address. Also then, if you are doing the premium subscription on your own and your school decides to provide the subscription for you, then it's just a real easy rollover to your school subscription if you've already started Pear Deck with your teacher email. Within here, you can click on here and click on account. I do want to quickly go over a few settings in your account. We have the classroom climate, which you'll see that when we log into the session. Quick check for the students to let you know how they are feeling for the day. Immersive Reader, fantastic tool that will read the Google Slides text boxes on your Google Slides for students. So it is, I believe, 86 different languages. So we'll not only read the text on there, but it will also translate the text on those slides. So we'll take a look at that when we're in the session as well. But you want to make sure you have it enabled here so that those students have access to it in their student view. We have a few Google Classroom integrations. So you want to make sure you have that enabled here as well. And these push notifications are just those little notifications that pop in the upper right-hand corner of the screen to let your students know that you have just set up a session for them. So if you want that capability in your student's screen, you'll want to make sure that's enabled as well. Takeaways, we talked about those real quickly. We'll come back around to those, but you want to make sure those are enabled so that you have access to those. And then required student logins, really important. You want to make sure you have one of these selected. If your students have Google accounts, make sure Google is selected. If they have Microsoft accounts, make sure Microsoft is selected. If you disable this, students will then log in with an avatar and a nickname. So then anybody can log into your session, but you won't be able to see any names associated with responses. So definitely want to make sure this is enabled and select the one that corresponds with your student accounts. Okay, the second item was that Pear Deck Power Up. If you are a teacher who uses the Google Slides animations or uses GIFs or uses videos, then you're going to need to have that Pear Deck Power Up extension. I know as a math teacher, I use the Google animations to bring in one step at a time for problems. So to be able to utilize those items that I just listed in an instructor paced session in the projector view, so the students are able to view that up in the projector view, you need to have this Pear Deck Power Up extension. And when I create some slides here, I'll go into greater detail about that extension. But to get it, you're going to go to your Chrome Web Store. And simply just search for the Pear Deck Power Up. Click on it and it's going to load it into your browser extensions. You'll see mine up here in my browser bar. It also gives you this little extra button. That's what that button is on my Google menu bar. If you simply do the add-on, you won't have that Pear Deck button. But, sorry, I got to back up because I totally forgot about the add-on. I skipped a part here. You want to get the add-on first. That's the most important. So to get that add-on, you're going to go to add-ons and then down to Pear Deck for Google, or sorry, get add-ons. Then when you click on this, you can search for Pear Deck in here if it doesn't pop up in one of these first few in the top of your window. Search for Pear Deck, click on it. I'm not going to click on it because I already have it installed. Once you click on it, then you'll be able to open your Pear Deck menu by going back to add-ons, then to Pear Deck, and then over to open Pear Deck add-ons. That Pear Deck Power Up extension gives you this little shortcut. It gives you this Pear Deck button up here. So if you don't load the Power Up extension, you will not see this Pear Deck button. That's not a problem. That's not necessary. You can always open that sidebar again by going to add-ons, down for Pear Deck for Google Slides, and open that add-on. These are all your Pear Deck tools in this sidebar. So I'm going to walk through them real quickly, but look at them in greater detail on each of the slides we create. So we have a template library where you can come in and you can pull some already generated templates into your lesson. So with one click, I can pull these into my lesson. And then once you pull them into your lesson, you can customize them however you would like. You can change the font, you can change the text, you can change the color. They just can provide a really nice starting point and save you a little time. Plus, they're created by educators. So you'll see when you go through the questioning on these slides, a wide range of questions to pull in and use in your lesson. We've got them split up here into different categories. And then down here, we have some specific to subject areas. You scroll through here and you can see some of the typical math items that you would use. Can save you a lot of time to come in here and check first and then customize it to how you need to use it in your lesson. For my PowerPoint users, this is a little different. You do not have access to just clicking them in your Pear Deck sidebar. You do need to go to Peridec.com, go to teaching resources, explore content, and go to the orchard. I want to bring this up anyway, because even though Google users have that sidebar and can access some of those templates in that sidebar, there are way more here in the orchard. So you definitely want to come and look in the orchard to pull in some of those templates into your lesson. Save yourself some time. Not to mention, we've got some lessons that are complete lessons, entire lessons created for you. If you are a Newsela account, if you have a Newsela account, you can use these Newsela daily decks if they work in your classroom for you. You can subscribe to have them emailed to you on a weekly basis. And then we always have the weekly wonders down here as well, that you would click on it and it will make a copy to your Google Drive. Once you make that copy, it is yours to customize however you need to fit your lesson or your needs in your classroom. They will come up with new ones on a weekly basis. So definitely worth coming back into the orchard to check those out. And again, that was at peridec.com, teaching resources and explore content. Okay, we're gonna get busy and start building these slides. So my first slide here, we're going to use these middle tools. So instead of starting with a template, I've created this slide myself, and now I'm just going to apply that Pear Deck interactive capability. For this one, I've set it up so students are going to select one answer. So I'm going to use a choice slide. I'm going to plug in what those options are for students. So we had bike rider 1, bike rider 2, 3, I'm going to add one more, 4. You can add up to 26 options. I'm not sure when you'll use 26, but that capability is there. You can also back it up to just 2 and make this more of a true-false question. Just simply update that slide and it's going to do all the work for you. You'll see this Pear Deck interactive bar down here. You will want to keep that right in that spot and not shift it around, as it could break that interactive capability. You get used to it coming in down there and formatting your slides accordingly. We're also going to add one more feature to this slide. It says which graph represents the recorded scenario. So an additional feature here in your sidebar is add audio. You can add audio to any of your slides. And when I click on this, I have the opportunity to record something right now, or I can upload an audio file as well. I'm just going to record a quick scenario for this slide. This bike rider started riding right away, stopped at 2 seconds, rested for 2 seconds, and then started riding again. Once you save it, you have the opportunity to listen to it. This bike rider started riding. If everything is good, you can go ahead and add it to your slide, or you can delete it and start again. Go ahead and add that. It'll put a little clip art image on your slide. This is a clue for your students to let them know there's audio to listen to for this slide. They have a headphones image in their student view that they will click on down in the bottom right-hand corner of their screen to listen to that audio. So this is not what they will click on to hear the audio. It's just simply a clue that there's audio on this slide. You can make it, it's a clip art image, so you can make it huge so they don't miss that clue, or you can make it smaller so it doesn't take up much room on your slide. This one is a draggable slide. So I'm going to have 5 points listed here, and I'm going to have students, they'll have the capability of dragging those points and plotting them on this coordinate plane. This coordinate plane was gotten from that template library, so big time saver, not having to create that. I'll click on the draggable option. Within this menu, you've got different items that you can select that the students will drag. For this one, the point is perfect. I have color coded them on my slide. So I need a red one. I'm going to add another one, which is green. Then I had an orange one listed, light blue, and dark blue. This one does give you a preview of what your students will see. So these are a little big for that coordinate plane. So I can go ahead and size those with this rule, slide rule, and make those a little smaller. And then update that slide. Again, I'm not going to see those in my view in my Google Deck. They will load here in the upper right-hand corner for students. I do see down here, though, it's letting me know that students will be dragging these 5 items on this slide. Quick note with the Draggables are specific to the ones that are in that menu. So if you have created lessons in the past with Google Slides and you have created little Draggables that students would move around on these slides, please note that those will be static in a Peridec session. So the only items that students will be able to move around will be the ones found in that Draggable slide. Okay, this one is great for a draw slide. I want to have students show me work for a math problem. So your draw slide, really versatile, has a text tool, a pencil tool, a highlighter tool, a straight line tool, eraser, and a large palette of colors. So really a nice slide to incorporate with whatever you might create on your Google slide, and then giving students those draw options to interact with that slide. Wonderful for showing their thought process in solving a math problem. In this case here, this is an example where for your littles, they can very easily make a dot with one click. So I kind of think of like those bingo markers where they would do those on the worksheet. They can now do that right within their Peridec session. So you could take any worksheet file that you have saved, and if it's a PNG image or a JPEG image, you could insert that on the slide and students could work through that worksheet within their Peridec session. So to do that, you're just simply going to click draw. We'll see all those wonderful tools once we log into the student view. For this one, this is an example of where you would need that power up extension. We're going to watch a volcano video, but I want to be in charge of playing that video for the whole class and stopping it. So I want to place it right on the Google slide. When I place it right on the Google slide and I have that power up extension, it's going to display that video in the projector view, but not on the student devices. So it's going to require that all the students watch that video in the projector view, and I'm going to be the one playing it. So you would need your power up extension for that. So for that, I'm just going to go to the Google slide menu bar and just click on Insert, Video, search for the volcano video, and place it on that slide. So again, in this option, I didn't use the toolbar for the sidebar for Peridec for this one. I just simply went to insert in that Google menu bar and place that video right on the slide. Now, the difference between that one and this next one we're going to do, for this video option, I would want the students to watch it in their student view. So I am not going to see this one in the projector view. And this is a lot of times going to be used for when students maybe are in a student-paced lesson, or you are giving students time in class or on a remote call to work through some slides on their own within that instructor-paced session. So this will appear in their student view, and they're going to be in control of playing it. And every single student is going to be able to play it at their own pace. So for this one, I'm going to use the website slide. I can leave them directions or anything on that slide because they will see that slide and then they'll see the video right beside it in their student view. Go to our video. This is just a YouTube video. Go to Share and Embed. And within here, I only want this URL address. Don't hit copy because it's going to want to copy everything. And all I need is where it starts with HTTPS and goes through to that quotation mark. You're going to highlight that. And then with Command C or Control C, whatever device you are on, copy it. Go back to your slides you're creating and paste it by Command V or Control V into that window. If everything is good with that link, if it's a secure link, if it's typed in there correctly, you will see a preview in that preview window. If you don't see a preview of it, then it's not working. So we'll need to figure out what's going on with that link and why it's not registering for that preview. As long as you see the preview, you know that's what the students are going to see in their view. You can update your slide. So again, in this instance, I'm not going to see it on this slide or in the projector view. Students are only going to see this in their student view. This next slide is just simply a text response. So I'm going to click text. It's going to create a text box field for students to type in their answer. And then this is another draw slide. So I've placed a map on this slide and I want the students to show me where the ring of fire is on this map. So I'm just going to use the draw slide for this one. Just one quick click. Students are going to have all those tools in their student view. Another use of that website slide, it's not just for videos. You can pull in Edpuzzle, you can pull in Kahoot, you can pull in quizzes, you can pull in Padlet, you can pull in Flipgrid, you can pull in Google Forms, you can pull in Google Docs. You can embed all those different applications or items within a website slide. And students are going to be able to explore and work on that item right within their Pear Deck session. So it alleviates them having to jump to another tab and then navigate between multiple tabs. So for this one, I'm going to do a moon simulator. I just want to copy this address up here, go back to that website slide and paste it. And again, as long as everything's correct with that address, it's going to show up as a preview in this window. Update. Students will see this in their student view. We will not see that in the projector view. They will have access to that in their student view. This next one, you'll see the little Google Animations image here. This slide has animations, two animations. Estimate comes in once, and then this next line comes in. So to be able to show those animations come in one at a time in that projector view, you would need to have that power-up extension. This one is just simply an estimate. So we're going to use the number slide. With that number slide, what the students are going to be able to input into that number slide will really just be numerical values. So they're going to be able to do digits, no commas. You can do negative numbers. You can do decimal values, but just note that if they do a decimal value, it is going to bump it and round it to the nearest whole number. So if you need to have commas in your answers, or you need to have some other mathematical notations, and you need to have decimals go out to a certain place value, you can always use the text slide as well. You don't have to use a number slide if it's a numerical response. The difference between the text and the number slide is how you would display those responses. The number slide gives you the option to display those responses as a box and whisker plot. So if that is convenient and a nice way to view responses to a specific question, then you would want to use that number slide. Last one we're going to put into our deck here is one from the template library. So I can click on the template library. We're going to pull one in from the littles. With one click, it's going to pull it into your deck that you're creating. And I'm just going to change it up by changing out circle to dot. Sometimes for our littles, circling with the mouse can still be a little challenging, so we'll make it a dot. This could be another great place to add audio to this slide, because you could read those directions to your littles, give them the sound of B, and then also name each of these items on this slide. So again, you'll see that nothing was really changed with this slide. Your template library slides are already set up with an interactive capability. You can change that. I can click on this, and if I didn't want this to be a draw slide and I wanted to make it a choice slide, I could simply delete that Pear Deck bar down there at the bottom and then go over and select the choice or the interactive slide I would like to use. Okay, so we have built our deck. Now that I've created this deck, it's mine. It's saved on my Google Drive. I can pull it up. If I teach the same class 5 times a day, I can use that same Google Deck, and I can start 5 different sessions with that same deck to present to each one of those classes. They would get their own join code and they would get their own link. But once you create this file, it's yours. It's saved to your drive. You can pull it up again next year and it'll be ready to go to use. Before we start this into a lesson, I am going to stop and take a quick look at the chat. So if you have a question and you want to put it in that chat real quickly, we'll look at a couple before we launch this into a lesson. So someone said, love Immersive Reader. Yes, Immersive Reader is fantastic. So it is just really such a helpful tool, like I said, for your littles, for your English language learners. Wonderful. We do know there is one note I do want to bring up, just so you are aware. Immersive Reader can be kind of picky with some fonts. So if you use Immersive Reader and you're noticing that it's not showing up in student view, You may want to do a quick preview as a student yourself. There are some fonts that it will not pick up on. If you use Arial, it will work with Arial for sure all the time. Let's see here. Would I be able to minimize the pop-up screen when recording audio so it does not? Great question. And we have had feedback on that because you can't minimize that. And I apologize for that. So one thing we have suggested is to maybe pull it up on a different device so you can read it off of a different device while you are recording. But I can see where that is definitely inconvenient. And we have received feedback on that as well. So co-teacher function, we're not going to get into co-teacher function that much today. I will show you how to quickly invite a teacher. There is a webinar specific to the shared teacher dashboard that it just specifically goes over how to use it and invite teachers to join your session. That's a new feature for us as of the end of last year, and that came because of teacher feedback, and it's a wonderful new addition to our features. This may be more advanced question, but can you use the flashcard factory asynchronously with students? You can, and there are some steps to how to get that set up so that they can use that asynchronously. And if you reach out to help@peridec.com, we'll be able to send you those steps. How exactly do I see my students' names on their responses? We're going to get to that. When we log into this session, if you are a premium subscriber, then you have access to the teacher dashboard, and that's where you're going to see names. So the Pear Deck Power Up, again, is going to allow you to use GIFs. It's going to allow you to play Google Animation, and it's going to allow you to be in the driver's seat of playing a video in the projector view during instructor paced. So students with varying emails. You may have to opt to use the anonymous setting. If you use that anonymous setting, then all of your students, doesn't matter what their school account is, they can all log into that. Typically, the school has one or the other, but you can use that anonymous setting to accommodate different emails. Can students see speech to text to enter responses onto Pear Deck? It is not interactive with speech to text. I apologize. That's feedback we hear frequently as well. That's our last question. So I'm going to close the chat and get ready to start this into a lesson. Any feedback that you have, we really recommend to reach out to us at help@peridec.com because it is instrumental. We keep track of all of it. And it is instrumental and plays a role in how Pear Deck will evolve. Like I said, that co-teacher feature, that's how that came about, is because we heard several teachers speak out about how that would be so helpful in their classroom. All right, to start this lesson, I'm going to back up here to our first slide. We can click on Start Lesson. You have two options. You can start this in student paced right away. That's more asynchronous learning. So you would copy down the code and the link and provide that to your students, and they're just going to jump into that session on their own and work through it. We're going to start this as instructor paced. So I'm going to be the one going through those slides. What you see in your student view is going to be exactly what I'm projecting in the projector view, minus the responses. You won't see the responses. If you are a premium subscriber, the teacher dashboard automatically opens up for you in a different window. For your students, this projector view is what you're going to want to display to them if you're in an instructor paced mode, so that they can join this session. So at this time right now, if you'll take a minute and join in, you can go to joinpd.com and type in that code. You can also, if you are linked to Google, this is one of those integrations with Google Classroom, you can click here and you can select a class, and it's going to send notification to your class, that push notification. And then your class will be able to go to joinpd.com and see a specific invitation there for them to click on to join your session. Really very simply, you can click on this and copy the link. And when you're in a remote call, you can even put that in the chat, which is what I will do right now. So students can just simply click on that to join into the session. Here you'll see this option to open your teacher dashboard. You could open up that teacher dashboard from here. We're going to close this. The code always stays here. So if students come in late to your session, as long as you're not projecting responses, the code will be up here in this upper right-hand corner. They can go to joinpd.com and type in that code. I'm going to log in as a student so that you can see that student view if you haven't logged in. And then I'm also going to show you how to pull up your teacher dashboard, a couple ways to pull that up. So down here in the More Actions button in your navigation bar, you can click on More Actions, and you have two options here to open it in another window or open it on a new device. You can also name your session right away here if you'd like to name it. This is also where you can turn on and off student paste. In my Sessions tab, I'm going to go back to my Pear Deck account. You have a Sessions tab in your Pear Deck account. And within this tab is housed all your sessions. So every single session that you start is going to show up in here. This is our one that we're currently in, that's live. I could also name my session here by clicking on the More Actions button. This file name is telling me that I'm using that Pear Deck for Google Slides accelerated file that I created. That Google Slides file is what's being used in this session. This is your projector view. So if for any reason your projector view would shut down, you can come into your Sessions tab and open that projector view again here. You can also open your teacher dashboard from here. So I'm going to open that up in a new tab. And you'll see here in the teacher dashboard that this is where you will see names linked to responses. Back here in that projector view for this first one, we had audio for this one. So in the student view, it looks like this. Down here, you see Immersive Reader to be able to read the text boxes on here. And you also see the headphones to listen to that text. Or listen to the recording. This bike rider started riding right away, stopped. Once they listen to it, they can make their choice. They will see a check mark down here. That's all they need to see to know that that response went through. There's not a save button. They don't have to have Pear Deck accounts. They just simply join your session and respond. They're going to go through and feed through to your projector view and your teacher dashboard. In our navigation bar, I see down here that 7 of 13 students have responded so far. This is a green light, so it's in a live instructor session. I can click on here to display those responses anonymously to the class. This overlay view is great for a choice question. Again, all in real time. So you can very quickly see how your class is progressing through your lesson, how they're doing with that interactive slide and the question that was on there and the concept. Again, back in the teacher dashboard, is where you will actually see names linked to those responses. Your teacher dashboard and your projector view are synced. So you have the same navigation bar down here. And if I click hide responses and go back to my projector view, I'm now going to be displaying the slide again and not the responses. Here's that draggable slide. Over here beside show responses, we have a locked screen button. You can lock this at any time with one click and students can no longer interact with their screen. For this slide, I'm going to set a timer. So instead of just clicking on it quickly, I'm going to hold down on it and get 3 timers and set it for 30 seconds. It'll show in the projector view. It'll also show in the student view. Students can click on these draggables and move them to place them on the slide. Back here, I can change this to show responses, and you're going to see all that movement being done in real time. And as that timer clicks down, it changes from green to yellow to red. It went off. All the action stopped. Nice job. All the action stopped up here. In the student view, they're going to see this, that the teacher has locked and they can no longer interact in this screen. But it is wonderful for quickly getting everybody's attention back to this slide because they can't interact with their screen anymore. This is the draw slide. So here are all those wonderful tools. Large palette of colors. The pencil tool, highlighter, straight line, a text tool, an eraser. This will size every single tool. So you would click on your tool, then click on your color. Up here, students can use the mouse or like a stylus if they have an interactive screen to interact with the draw slide. I think for myself and for a lot of students, going in here and actually just typing is just as easy, so they can type in their response. Over here on this side, to make that dot for our littles, I can go back to the pencil. And we'll make it just a little bit larger. Click on a color, and just with one click, make the dots on those BR blends. Back in that projector view, I can show responses anonymously. So here they are large, so you could scroll through to see them a little better, or in our grid format. I love this when there's a deleted response. So this happens when somebody has done something, one of your students has done something on the slide, and it was on there long enough to come through to the teacher dashboard in the projector view, but then they decided to delete it. So they either started over with this slide, or they've deleted a text response, and then it's going to show up as a deleted response on your screen. But super comfortable to put an answer up here within your teacher dashboard. You can even monitor this even more. So within here, I can select on these stars. I'm just really going to randomly click here. And those are the ones that are going to display in my screen now when I flip back to the projector view. So the teacher dashboard is really nice for navigating what responses you would like to show in that projector view, because whatever you do in here to display, it's going to display in that projector view. You can also, we can clear all those stars down here. You can also hide responses. So where's mine? If I hide it, it will not display in that projector view. So this is great. I know we all have those students. If for some reason somebody has contributed something that's not appropriate for the question, then you can hide those responses in here. And you can simply show them again. And then this last feature underneath the slide that you're seeing, this is feedback. So you can go ahead and leave teacher feedback for your students. If I click on here, for sake of time, I'm just going to say nice job and send it. Wonderful for student-paced sessions. Really, really nice for student-paced sessions, because if the student's home and working on their own and you're nowhere in sight, but you've been monitoring in your teacher dashboard and you send them some feedback, they'll get a notification and click on it and read it and then proceed as needed. It's also nice in the classroom if you're having students work on their own and you notice a student in your teacher dashboard kind of going astray. You can redirect them within the Pear Deck session instead of going over to them or drawing attention to them. So that feature is really nice as well. This is that video that we would need the power up for. So this is one I just inserted using the Google Slides menu, not a Pear Deck feature. And I can hit play and play it up here in the projector view.
Portals into the
students will not see this in their view. So they're going to be watching this in the projector view as you play it. This next one, this one is the one students will see in their view. So I don't see this one in the projector view, but students will see this in their view. They have the slide over here and they have the video here that they can play. And if I hit this, pretty sure we're all at a different place in this video right now.
Bottom.
I'm going to look at real quickly the Immersive Reader. So this is a Google text box on this slide. It's only going to read Google text boxes. So if you place an image on here that has text, it will not pick up that text, only Google text boxes. And you want to make sure that you put those text boxes on that slide in the right order, because it's going to read it in the order that you've placed them on the slide. So students can click on this. And they can click play.
Watch this video about volcanoes and answer the questions on the following slides.
To have that read to them, you can change it to a man's voice. You can slow the speed down. And here you can change the font size, the font itself, the color background. You can break this up into syllables. I think this is so nice for our our littles. So you can click this and it's going to break those words up into syllables. Also, if you're talking about specific parts of speech, you can have them enable some of these so they can see those nouns within that text. And then you can also change it for line focus. So if you want it to just focus on the line that it's reading at the time, you can change that in here as well. Picture dictionary, if that's enabled and students click on a word and it's in that picture dictionary, it's going to show an image of that word. And then the last one in here is that translate. So I believe it's 86 different languages in here to translate the text that's on this slide. Okay, real quickly, I am going to switch you into student paced and show you how that's done and let you just go through a couple slides or kind of go back and forth through these slides on your own for just a second. You can toggle back and forth between student paced and instructor paced any number of times. There's not a limit. So you would go down to your more actions, and maybe we had a group lesson, and now I want the students to work on a couple slides on their own. So I can go into that navigation bar, turn on student paced, and now I've lost control of moving these slides for students. In that student view, they now have arrows to move through the slides on their own. But in the teacher dashboard, I can monitor everything. So within the teacher dashboard, I can see who's on each slide. I can see their responses. Again, I can provide feedback to them without talking to them out loud on a certain response. So as they're working, I can manage everything within here. Again, this is your teacher dashboard. So this is a text response. Students will simply click in here. And a response like that might be a great place for feedback and say, can you expand on that and tell me more? So I could find that response in here in the teacher dashboard, send feedback. This next slide, this was that draw slide again, showing the ring of fire. They can click on the pencil, they can size that, click on red and draw on that map. Again, I can see all those individually here in the teacher dashboard. Oh my gosh, that is fantastic. We're going to come back in the projector view and see that one. I have not had anybody interact with the slide quite like that. So you can see the draw slide, students are going to love the draw slide, and your creative students can get very creative with that slide. This is that moon simulator if you haven't gotten to this one yet. So you can start that and view that right within your Pear Deck session. No jumping into other tabs. This next one, I do want to point out, if you're not on this slide, this one was the one that had the Google animation. So those lines were supposed to come in one at a time, but we're currently in student paced. So when students are in student paced, they will not be able to have those animations come in one at a time. So if you are a teacher who uses animations in that projector view, you want to make sure that they make sense if it gets switched into student paced and students see all those animations at one time. So I'm going to flip us back and show you the difference. So I'm going to put us back into instructor paste here real quickly, but I'm going to move off this slide, put on that one. I love this feature. It's wonderful for remote learning. It's awesome in your classroom as well when they're working on their own to quickly get everybody's attention back to the slide you want to come back to as a class. So I want everyone to come back in on this slide. So I'm going to put that in the projector view so I'm ready to go. No bell, no countdown, no cute saying, one quick click, and I'm going to have everybody's attention on this slide. So I'll go back to more actions, click turn off student paced. When I go into that student view, it has now bumped me to this slide. And it's bumped all of you back to this slide, and you've lost control of going through these slides now. And you'll see those transitions don't appear, and that's because we're back in instructor paste. So in this slide, I can click on here, bring it in one at a time, and it's going to show up in that student view one at a time. Click again, and that second one comes in. For this one, this was a number response, so it is strictly numbers that they will put in here. And when we display these responses, this is where you have that option of a box and whisker plot to display those responses. You still have the option to display those individually as well. Here was one we pulled in from the template library. So this was a draw slide again. Students can simply pick that pencil tool. We'll make our dot bigger. Select a color, and just very quickly and easily click on that slide. Back in the projector view. This one is a great one to display as that overlay view. You can very quickly see how your students are doing. In the teacher dashboard again, you can see all the individual responses. And then the last thing I'm going to do is bring in a new prompt. So I can't go back to my Google Deck right now, and I can't make changes in it. So if I saw something in my slide and thought, oh, I need to change that, I can't change that now. That change won't reflect until I start a brand new session with that Google Slides deck. But what you do have is you have the option down here to add a new prompt. And these new prompts will only be specific to the session that you're in. They will not change your Google Deck file in any way. So I can click on this new prompt, and I see some that are already loaded in here by Pear Deck. These are some of the same ones you see in that template library. But you also have your slide. So any slide that I might be on in my session, I can go in here and I can see different options to pull back in if I want to revisit that slide. Say we didn't quite get all the right images clicked or dotted, and we talked about it a little more, and I wanted to give those students another try. I could come back in here and I can click on the drawing one again, but you do have the option to change up how students are interacting with that slide as well. So no matter what slide you're on in your session, 4 different slides are going to appear in this last screen of that new prompt. We're going to pull in this one. This is a great one to use with your students when you have just gone over a ton of information like I have today, and I know it's so much. There's so many different features, so much to talk about as far as each of those features are concerned. So it's a lot. So this is a great one to use with your students. Pear Deck has done a wonderful job with a lot of their templates of pulling in that social and emotional aspect of learning. So they can check in here, let you know how they're feeling. I can share this with the whole class because we're not seeing anybody's names on these responses. In the student view, this is a draggable. I'm going to put mine down here because in that teacher dashboard, I can scroll over and I can see the name of that person and maybe pull them aside and check in with them, extend that learning a little bit more with them, seeing what it is that they need to know more about to make them feel a little better about that lesson. So we started a lesson with that green button. We made a choice of either starting as instructor paced or student paced right from the beginning. However, you can toggle back and forth between those 2 paces at any time. And then the last thing is publishing those responses, those Google Doc takeaways. So takeaways look like this, and you're going to receive a copy of this session in your email today. As soon as I end this and publish the takeaways, they will get sent to your email. It's a Google Doc shared between you and the student. So you could extend learning with these. You're both able to edit in this doc. So you could extend and put comments in this takeaway for them that they're going to be able to see on their end. Or you may ask them to expand on something in their takeaway, and you're going to see that work on your end. It'll have every link that you've used on a slide so that students can revisit those. It will have the question and it will have the student's response, and only that student's response within their takeaway. This is a quick survey. You do not have to do it right now because I'm going to click off of this slide and you're going to lose access to it. But because of those takeaways, you've got this link available to you in that takeaway that if you don't mind quickly jumping on there and completing that survey, one of the questions is specific to what else would you like to learn and know about Pear Deck? We're collecting that information so that we can present webinars to you that you're looking to find and know more about. But I do want to show you in the student view, this is the Google form. So you could do a lesson with your students on these slides in a Pear Deck session. Then you could do a very quick assessment within a Google form if you have used Google Forms and like to use them. These responses would feed back to that Google form. These would not be in your teacher dashboard, but just really nice that they're able to complete this form in their Pear Deck session, and you receive all those responses to that Google form. You also have this page of resources in your takeaway, and all of these will have an active link below the slide. So there are 2 recorded webinars. This is the same webinar that we're in right now, just recorded by someone else. It used to be called Pear Deck 101. We now call it Pear Deck Accelerated, so that you can go back and watch that if you want to review some of the things that we spoke of today in the webinar. And then we also have that one specific to PowerPoint users. We've got a great Pear Deck YouTube channel to find a lot of informational videos. This was that Pear Deck vocabulary. We'll give you more information about that vocabulary game. Our Pear Deck website link. And then we have a knowledge base as well, which you can type in a topic and search help articles. This one down here is super important. We are at help@peardeck.com. Definitely reach out to us with any questions you have and any feedback and suggestions that you have as well. So I have left about 5 minutes for some questions. So if you do have questions, if you could use this slide so that we can put them up here, it's just nice for everybody to be able to see. While you're typing, I'm going to look in the chat real quickly to see if someone did not join the session and left a question in the chat. So will the Immersive Reader function from MathType? MathType is a Google extension. So I cannot answer that right off the top of my head, yes or no. My gut instinct would be no, that it's really specific to Google text boxes, but I would have to test that one out and see, and I apologize. And if you wanted to reach out to the help desk, we can look into that a little further and let you know an answer to that. What were the 4 types of slides the current content could be? Text, draggable, drawing, and I'll go back to those. So you can do a text slide, you can do a number slide, you can do a website slide. So text, website, number, and choice. Those are those are with our free subscription. And the template libraries with our free subscription. And then drawing and draggable slides and the add audio are with our premium subscription. I haven't looked into the co-teaching feature. Oh, I didn't show you that yet. So let me show you real quickly how to invite that teacher. Both teachers do need to have a premium plan because it's linked to that teacher dashboard, and that teacher dashboard is a premium feature. How do you recommend going over a slide? Do you use iPad to write on it? Okay, so you can't interact with the projector view, and this is feedback we get a lot as well. People would like to have some annotating tools to interact with that projector view. But what you can do is log in as a student, and when you log in as a student, like I did here today, then you have access to all those tools in the drawing pad if you use that drawing slide. But for now, we do not have any type of annotating feature that you can use within that projector view. But reach out to us and let us know you'd like to see those, and we will keep those tallied up with other feedback. Where do I get the takeaways from this webinar? They will be emailed directly to you. They will get emailed directly to you. That co-teacher feature, I'm going to flip over here to the teacher dashboard real quickly while you're still writing some questions. You can go into this More Actions button, and you can go into Invite a Co-Teacher. It's super simple. Click on that. It's going to give you a link to copy and share with your co-teacher. They're going to click on that link, and they're going to have access to this session. There's a really nice help article in our knowledge base that walks through using this co-teacher feature. But just like that, you can invite another teacher to jump into this session. Really a nice feature for those teachers who have TAs in their class. All right, so let's look here real quickly. How do you recommend going over an answer? Okay, we did look at that one. Sorry, when you add the new prompt, that were the 4 types the current content could be. Oh, so when you add the new prompt, I'll switch in here real quickly. So I could switch up. Now it's going to show this slide that we're on. So Pear Deck automatically changes this to, I could keep this as a text response. That's what it is right now. But maybe I want to change it to a draggable, or maybe I want to change this to a number or a drawing. But it'll do that every single time to the slide that you're currently on. I hope that answered your question. Are there any updates in the works? I really don't. I'm in the help desk, on the help desk team. We keep track of all that, but I don't have anything that I can forward on to you at this time. I'm sorry. I haven't looked into the co-teaching feature, but do both individuals need premium? Yes, so they both do need premium for that co-teacher feature. Okay. I think we got it, and we're just 1 minute past the hour. I've got one more here in the chat. I'm going to peek at that real quickly. Someone just said they love the co-teacher feature. It is so nice. And like I said, that came to be because of hearing from all of you and your feedback. So definitely reach out to us if you've got suggestions or feedback. We listen to it and we keep track of it. Okay, to end this session real quickly before you jump off of here, I'm going to go down to end. I'm going to name this. That you had that takeaways enabled, make sure you have it enabled in your settings. Then once you name it, it's going to give you the option to check it. I'm going to check it, save and end. If you are linked to Google Classroom, you're going to get a Google Classroom button that you can click on and share that into their announcement stream. You also have this link that you can share. If students click on this link, they are only going to access their takeaway. If you click on it, you're going to get the whole set. Takeaways are in their shared with me drive. So they really don't need any notification except that you published them and they go to their shared with me drive and they're going to find them there. And you're going to find them in your Pear Deck folder on your Google Drive, in your takeaways folder. All your class sets of your takeaways will be stored there. Return to Google Slides. And I could turn around and I could start a brand new lesson with this Google Deck. With a unique join code and link to that session. So I can use this over and over and over again. Thank you all so much for joining me today. Please do not hesitate to reach out to help@peridec.com if you have specific questions as to how you are wanting to use Pear Deck in your classroom. Thank you.